we could like be more organized. So,
Okay, so I'm gonna do this. So what I would do is um, do like this. I'm just gonna copy this, and then I'm gonna go over here. Uh, okay, so oh, what's a good name for the tool? Traffic diagnosis or traffic loss tool or traffic loss explanation?
um, I kind of want it to go up too. I want it to do spikes too.
Traffic spike tool, um, traffic crash tool, um, traffic. Um, I can't spell anomalies, so okay. Traffic tool.
Traffic
Diagnosis. Yep,
diagnosis.
that's what I was thinking too.
Perfect.
Okay, so we're in the thing. I'm just going to do git init, which means I'm going to start up a new repository for Git that I can then. I just realized I've got some kind of. I was eating a honey sandwich earlier. I realized that my beard has been collecting the honey, which probably isn't information that any of you need to know. But I was taught this. If you're giving a speech and you suddenly look down at your trousers and there's a terribly large white stain all over your trousers, then the best thing to do is actually just tell everybody, "Wow, there's a strange white stain. I wonder where that came from." Because otherwise you'll be thinking about it. I should point out there isn't a white stain on my trousers, but this has happened to me. Otherwise you'll be thinking about it the whole time. And if you just tell everybody and everybody laughs a little bit, and then you move on and you never think about it again. But if you don't say it, right, then anyway. So I've got honey in my beard.
I love it.
So
That's
if you
great
see me
advice.
kind of go, wow, how come my beard is both sticky and kind of strangely stiff? It's because anyway. So Git init basically initializes this empty Git repository, which means that when we add files, we'll be able to ask Claude. Claude can also do this for you. We'll be able to ask Claude, hey, make me a add these files into the repo and then put it onto GitHub. Um, maybe is that asking a
Um,
question?
where are you? What is this? I'm new.
This you see it here. So I just did git init in a terminal. So I opened up a terminal, um, and I just typed before this. I typed try, which is this little tool that allows you to create new directories and remember what directories you recently created. And then just going to go to
Amy, you know what terminal is, right? Are you on a Mac? Okay. If you go to the search bar at the top and
Mhm,
type in terminal,
mhm.
it's like the command center. So it looks really like Cody, like you're doing some hacky stuff. And what it allows you to do is exactly as Robin's describing now. So like what I've done is like and it's all preference. He runs it through this. I run all of my coding through the Claude desktop app itself. And then when I'm running the skills that I built, that's when I use terminal. So it's
Okay.
all a preference. If you go back and watch any of Noah's videos, he does a lot of it in, might have the name wrong, but I think it's VS Code
Okay.
is what he runs a lot of it. And his process looks very similar to Robin's, just in a different platform.
Was your lifesaver. Thank you so much.
No problem.
I mean the terminal is accessing the shell. The shell is literally like a shell on the outside of the computer, and you enter commands in it, and this is called the command line. And so this whole thing is sometimes called a command line interface or CLI. So instead of using a graphical user interface, which is basically how you normally use a computer with a mouse and clicking things, use a command line, which means you're using the keyboard. So
Like what we
yeah,
used
so
to do before
terminals
Windows?
exactly like in
Okay.
DOS. DOS is also a command line, and this is using on Mac. You have the Unix command line, um, so it's using a version of Unix, which is a different operating system. On top of the operating system, it's a shell, and the shell just lets you get at the internals of the computer in a different way than the GUI. Right, so I'm going to start up Claude in this directory, and then got something else selected and it's confused. That has never happened. It is very unhappy. So I'm clicking and it's, for me, it's beeping. Well, okay. You're not supposed to do this, people, but I'm just going to quit the terminal and then start it up again. Bear with
The
me.
word dangerous in there makes me nervous.
Yeah, it's great, right? I think actually that's kind of the idea, that it makes you nervous. But I basically do all of my Claude sessions in this. We'll click. Dangerously skip permissions is dangerous, and you shouldn't skip permissions. But that's just how
I like your
um,
accurate labeling. It's dangerous, but we'll do it.
so basically, it means that if Claude were to say, "I'm just going to delete all your files," then there wouldn't be any kind of safety net to stop it from doing that. In my experience so far, Claude is a lot better at programming than almost everybody I know about, apart from maybe my co-founder and a couple of others. And so I just don't think it's actually going to do that in practice. Yeah, and so it won't ask me each time, "Hey, are you okay if I delete all your files?" It'll just go in and delete everything. I'm just using that as a bad example. Mostly, it's going to ask you, "Are you okay if I look at the contents of this directory? Are you okay if I create a new directory? Are you okay if I add this letter to a file?" Yes, 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 yes. And so I'm a man of little patience. I'm extremely lazy, so that's just my default now.
And then you could be like me, who's overly protective and never uses that. And I want it to tell it and review everything it wants to do.
Yeah. That's also completely fine. I also think
Levels of
they're both
control.
interestingly good ways of learning about things. Because I would just hair off in the wrong direction and crash into a wall, and then pick myself up and go like, "Wow, what was that about?" And then I'll take things really slowly, and then I'll hair off in a different direction and crash into a wall. But whilst um, sometimes speed is important, sometimes direction is important, right? And so it's just a balance between those. All right, so next what I'm going to do, I copied what was in the Google Doc, and so I'm going to say, so actually what I would normally do is I'd use Whisperflow, so I'd say, I'm just going to record this. I'm going to start a new project, and yeah, here's the rough scope. Work with me back and forth to get the full scope. Don't build anything, don't fix anything, don't plan anything, just work with me to get the scope, please. And then I just paste. Ooh, nothing pasted.
And
Go
I
back to
think when you
this.
copy again, you might want to only copy one app because that was the full idea list.
Oh, yeah, I thought I only got
Oh,
this
go
one.
to the next tab down, Robin. Traffic diagnosis. Yes, that one. Okay, that's it.
Oh, I see. Oh, I see. The build is, oh, it's completely
Those were
different.
all of our
Okay.
ideas as we voted.
Wow.
And then I
I've
split them up based on detail.
learned how to use Google Docs today. That's the things I learned. Okay, so I can
Until I
actually
met
just do this.
Adrian, I didn't know about the tabs in Google Docs either.
Outlines, so complex.
Right.
Yeah. So now I've just said we're going to start a new project. Here's the rough scope, but the work with me back and forth, kind of magic words, and then also don't fix or build or implement anything, don't plan, just work with me back and forth. So I think that these are really useful words because now what I think it's going to do is going to ask us a bunch of questions.
I was going to say, is that a different phrase for ask me anything? Work with me back and forth?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. Whoa. Okay. Okay. Can you ask me anything in order to make it easier? Please. maybe make useful suggestions. I guess we can start reading it. And OCH SEO is managing multiple clients for some power users so that site owners would mean multi-tenant. Each user connects with their own GSC GA4 properties, and the agency user might manage 10 to 50 sites. I guess that sounds good to me. What do you guys think?
Yeah, that sounds good to me too.
I guess we could be building a tool that we individually install and run locally, or we could be building a tool that runs centrally somewhere and then we connect and use it.
That was
So is it
something
like
that Noah was going back and forth on last week as well. I think it depends on the connections. Like if the cost is low, it could stay in the community. Otherwise, if we're looking at random connections and all of that, then it should be a download yourself and run it locally.
Yeah, I can imagine. I mean, from my experience, although people are supposed to, nobody really cares about Search Console. Maybe GA4 is trickier, but like for a lot of agencies with customers, they will sign up for a new tool with Search Console and give that new tool access to Search Console. Maybe GA4 is more like client confidential, but
Like if it's centrally located, it stores
right,
data.
then
Is there like a data
yeah,
issue? Okay.
yeah, and also potentially then somebody who's running that, which could be us, could see all the data for all those customers.
Mm.
And so
So
maybe
even
that's
if
not,
you did something like an OAuth, that doesn't prevent it from saving the data.
no.
Ah.
And OAuth basically you get a token and then you can use that token to access the data. And
Hmm.
the token expires, but then a token is like a one-off password, and then it kind of expires, and then you can ask for a new one. And if your permissions still count, then like if you still have access to, so you give me access to your Search Console, then I can use that to create a token, and then use that token to pull stuff from the API. And so then I could then save that data if I wish. Um, so maybe it's better if we make a repo and then anybody who wants to use it can install it locally and set it up for their data sources and then run it.
Yes.
If
Now
we
that you talk
start with
through it.
that, if we start with that, can we convert to the other one later, or is that not
Yeah,
enough? Okay.
I guess so. Yeah, I guess it's pretty easy to convert later.
Okay. Well, all you need is good terms and conditions, right? Good privacy policy covers everything. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, all you need
Uh,
is to.
yeah. Okay.
Uh,
Well, I think
okay,
that does that answer that?
yeah, so let's just say.
Cool.
So I think we're just going to run it um, uh, for a single user, and that user will run it locally, run the repo locally, and then connect with their Search Console and GA for their customers. But I think the user is an agency running this for multiple clients. Um, Man, everything is going wrong today. Where's my thing? Okay. And here, self-hosted tool, no hosting infrastructure, agency claim current repo run to locally. Yeah. Um, does the agency typically have access to all their clients' GSC, GA4 properties under one Google account? Yeah, that's a good question. Um, for you guys, when you have multiple agencies, multiple customers for you as a freelancer or an agency, do all of them users? Do you give them ask them to add read-only access to a single account, or are there a bunch of them?
Yeah, like I have a work email for myself and my independent work that I get invited to things, but then also with certain clients, I'm embedded, so I have an email with their system, and then I have to switch. It's like I got one thing on their thing and like 10 on my other one. So I would say for the most part, they're all on one, which would be like your work email. Do other
Yeah.
people like that?
That's what I was going to say. All of ours are on one.
I guess we start with that. We have all of ours on one, but no, there's like we have a bunch of ours on one, and then we have a bunch on another. And for some customers, we did a completely different one, and then it's got 100 different accounts on or something, and so it all got complicated. And then we realized at some point, what if something happened to that one email and that account, then everything would die. So then we started spreading them all over the place. But let's start with um, I think whoops. I think that 80% of the time we can just use a single account, and that will cover all of the clients. So we should start with one Google account, and then if need be, we can add more later. Just diagnose it's actually been here. Side by side with my irritation. Here's your search console data and GA4 data in the same timeline. You figure it out. No, that seems kind of dumb. We kind of want to work out why it dropped or why it spiked, right? Yeah. So
Yeah,
rule-based
role-based
detection,
detection. Yeah,
or
Is it multiple
it's
steps?
I think this is an either or. So do you want A, B, or C?
yeah.
You can't combine steps.
I think
I,
C
I
is combined of A and B.
Oh, I was thinking it like you do B first and then C, and then the final step is A to review it.
I
But
I
I
think
don't know.
this is going to be kind of dumb. Like, so I would suggest C, but maybe B. Like it said, maybe a B is a good starting spot. So the thing I worried about C is that it's going to say, I know, yeah, the traffic dropped on these 12 URLs, but actually you want to know why the traffic drops, not like on which URLs it drops, like or traffic spiked, but we want to know why it spiked. Maybe we can't know that, but at least we want to have a think about that.
Well, and we could, so putting my Noah hat on, one of the lines for my instinct says C is cool, but adds cost in complexity. So it goes kind of against the keep it cheap, keep it simple. I'm
Yeah.
curious what costs though, just in general, what it would be pulling. Like, is it going to, if we're running this locally, is it going to reach out to Claude and we'd have to connect it to Claude? So it's saying it used some of your credits, or is it
Yes.
going out to, oh, okay.
Yeah. That's it. That's what it's doing.
So I think B is like identifying the pages to look at.
Yeah.
I'm assuming that it's going to be like to start, we would do individual URLs, not batches. So if it helped identify, it dropped 30% week over week on these 12 URLs, the next to that URL is a button that says why or whatever. You click that, then it runs C, which is it looks at the news, it looks at Twitter sentiment. That might be like the AI part. And then it can look at search volume, which might be more quantitative. So it almost feels like a combination of filtering and AI checking what's trending. Because the other thing is like if I get a spike or a dip, if I want to know from GA4, was it referral traffic and from where? So it can tell me like so for a dip, it'd be like, what did I have before that went away?
Mm.
And for a spike, it'd be like, What did I not have before, and where did it come from? And
I feel like A, B, C are actually cumulative. Like you kind of want A anyway. You want and B, you want to work out what was impacted or kind of narrow it down a bit. Like you don't want to look at all the URLs or all the queries or all the sources. And then C is actually trying to answer how, sorry, why, which is otherwise pretty hard just to do. Like I don't think we'll do that easily with a rule-based system. It's going to write lots of rules, but most of the time it's something new and interesting. Maybe we just start with A and B.
Amy?
Um,
Yeah, I'd like once it identifies what URLs have gone up or down, I would like to know what queries were attached to those if possible.
mm,
Is that
Mm,
something we're able to do?
yep.
yes. Okay, so A and B. Yeah. Here's the report. Here's what dropped. Okay, and then why. I like that it adds its instinct. It has instincts.
Yeah.
It feels a little bit like 80% of the use cases are like you got a new link from somewhere or you got a P0 and so your rankings surge. And then 80% of the other side, the dip, is like a competitor stole your ranking.
I guess
And
it
who
depends a
was
lot
it?
on how new the store is or how new the people are, like,
Yeah.
or how new the customer is. Because maybe you see a surge, and it is just seasonality, and it turns out the store is way more seasonal than you knew. You don't have the background data, right? Or but yeah. Hmm. Okay, so it's asking which time comparisons matter. Um, week on week, month on month, year on year. I guess. I mean, I guess all of them.
Yeah, I was going to say, can we say ask us when we run it?
Yep.
Yeah, all four, I guess. We'd have to define what makes a drop.
That's good call.
I've always used 10% min 100.
Ooh. Uh, um, before we get to that, and on the time comparisons, maybe it's useful to think about what a spike or a drop actually is. And by the way, this should work both for increases and decreases. So maybe you can have a think about would be anomalous week over week, month, or year over year. So you can look at how things typically move up and down, and whether this is much larger than that typical move.
There seems like two issues. There's like sudden movements, which is like
Mhm.
you lost a ranking or something happened in current events. Um, and then there's like steady decay, which would be like the year over year report, where you're like, oh, I
Mm.
see a big drop year over year. But for me, the alert is 10% minimum 100 is in a 24-hour period. So if in any 24-hour period, one of my pages surges more than 10% traffic growth, and it's a minimum of 100 clicks, because obviously like 1 to 10 is 1,000. So if I'm setting it at 10%, I don't want to see like regular movements of growing pages. I only want to see my pages that already have a lot of traffic that are losing a significant portion of it in a short period of time or gaining it. And then I used to get an email called Poppin' and Droppin', and it would be like these three pages have exhibited 1,000% growth, and it's like 2,000 people or whatever. Then I would go look at it and be like, oh wow, we got a link from Facebook or we got a share on whatever. And you can kind of go back through the referral information in GA to find it. And then you have to like go manually search Facebook to be like, is it even public? Can I find it? So that's what I've used for that in the past is to be like, can I identify and catch things before it's too late? Like if someone stole a ranking from me, I'm not going to wait a week to see it in my regular report. I want someone to, I want like my system to tell me today. It's happening, you know? So anyway, that's just my background on that. Thanks.
Are those ranges, do you think those would work for all of your clients, for everybody's clients here?
No.
Okay. So I was, for some of our customers, uh, the traffic will go up or down by 1,000 clicks every day. And that's just dead normal because they're getting, 100,000 clicks a day or something. And so that's a tiny percentage. So what I was trying to ask here is whether it could work out if we're interested in a certain range, like week on week, week on month, maybe you could just work out what the typical increase or decrease is in the last, I don't know, 20 weeks or something, and then just identify something that looks big.
Oh, maybe it's like a percentage based, like
Yeah,
have
like that.
the tool figure out it'll work for really small clients and for really large clients. And so I have the
Yeah,
tool analyze it, and then if it's a percentage different, then it'll do the popping and dropping.
yeah. Popping and dropping is a new moving and shaking.
Moving and shaking. I like it.
We'll see what it says. I was thinking like standard deviations and things like that. And I think
Yeah,
the
like
statistics would also
deviation
work
from your normal growth rate. Yeah.
more than X%. Um, like that's a good question. Generally, it's the idea of the tool something where uh, we have an idea that something's changing and we ask the tool, please tell us why, or is it where we just give the tool look across my customers and tell me where something strange is happening?
Ooh, I feel like it should do both. Because, like, that's why I liked the alert because I wasn't going to be n monitoring every page. But those that are on my top 100 commercially valuable list, every one of my publishers has that list. Those are the pages that they dote on, regardless of their performance. Like, they should be performing the best. So it's almost like I've got my one sales page I'm watching all the time, but then I've got 1,000 other pages I'm not watching.
So to play devil's advocate with that, the way I look at it is, are you using it to be proactive or are you using it to be reactive? And if you're using it to be proactive, do you need to have a reactive side? But that would mean that the skill or whatever would have to run on a scheduled basis in order to be counted as proactive.
Mm.
Yeah, it's like a real-time monitoring sitch.
Right.
Then it needs a server.
Yeah, versus like run this tool on this
Right.
URL.
So it does need to be reactive then.
I think that
So
it sounds like that's the place we start. An alert might be V2.
yeah, I mean, it's funny. I'm listening to your answers for all these things, and basically, if you just imagine what is the most ambitious and most like a difficult answer, those are my default answers every single time. And so I'm like, why reactive? Jesus, what's the point of reactive? No, we don't want that. But at the same time, if we these are kind of requirements choices, but they're also design choices. So Liz, like you say, if we do make it proactive, yeah, then it needs to actually be running 24/7 somewhere. And we could put it on our laptop, but when we close the lid, it's not running anymore. So I think that's a good call. Um, uh, what do you guys think about branded versus non-branded? My suggestion here would be that we look for, yeah, the way that I would do branded is that we look for common terms that are used to common queries that lead to the homepage, and look to see if they're some edit distance away from the name of the site. And then if any string contains those, we call it branded.
Do you think there's something in the API that we could pull from because Google Search Console now has branded queries as a filtering option?
Oh, yeah, I have no idea. That's an amazing idea.
Good point.
Okay. Uh, this is something you could research. I know, use name dash. Um,
So you specifically use the M dash. Does that tell Claude something specific? No,
I have
you just
no
chose to use
idea.
an M dash. Okay. Okay.
I always used to use M dashes, and now whenever I do,
I
people are like,
know.
"Oh, use AI to
I
create your
know.
message," and I'm like,
Oh,
"No, I am actually AI."
the way
As
you
an
said it, I was
editor,
like, wait, is
yeah,
that like a coding thing or yeah,
No,
okay,
no, it's
perfect.
just I don't know.
all my homies
Um,
use M dashes.
I feel like it's an
uh,
ADD HDA thing because you're just like typing in a stream. We don't have time for like, capitalization and
Right? You're
period.
like shift. I have to press a
sentences,
shift
yeah.
No,
button.
no, no. Just hit the dash and go. Next thought.
I heard this great joke about a friend of mine was working in a keyboard factory, but he got fired because he didn't put in enough shifts. Okay,
My favorite part of that joke was watching Adrian like get it. At first she was like, wait, what? And then it
I'm slow with jokes. I'm like the
it's a
most
it's a
was
gullible
pun.
person.
perfect.
Which is alternatively, we can look at common engrams in the queries that lead to the homepage and look to see if they're within a certain edit distance of the name of the site that we get from the TLD, because that's too hard to. Okay, query grouping by page, semantics, keyword parent. Um, yeah, but then I'm also thinking about cost. So I think it would be nice to use embeddings to work out like to group queries. Um, but otherwise, we could just group queries that share the same words or the same engrams, because then we don't need AI to do that.
I would like vector embeddings because then we could simulate kind of how AI looks at it for AI search. And that's kind of where I'm going with the queries sort of groupings, the
Yep.
information I'm looking for. So if that's possible, that'd be pretty sweet.
Okay. I've been spending half a day thinking about embeddings for retrieval and for search. So I'm super into embeddings right now. But, query grouping by page. So um, um, to have query. Um, so when you do query grouping by page, you can just list out the queries that all go to the same page. But often uh, it's common on sites for queries to go to multiple pages, so you get cannibalization. But then it's also nice to be able to group queries by pages they share. So if there are two queries that go to multiple pages and two of those are shared, yeah, those two queries are semantically more similar. They're kind of implicitly there. You can use pages kind of like a vector. And, and so the random surfer approach is that if you think you have a query and go to a page, and then it also goes to a different query, that leads to the same page, then the random surfer is kind of, you take a random route like this, you go from a page to a different query to another page, and then you can use those to think about how you cluster those together. Random surfer is also used in a lot of search work.
The unreasonable server.
Yeah, yeah. But then this is typically insanely complex and hard to do yourself. But luckily, we have a friend who's going to do it for us. So
Name
I'm
is
just going to
Claude.
make some. Yeah, I'm going to make some suggestions, and maybe it will go. Oh yeah, that sounds great. I'll make that. So I'm hoping.
It better be excited.
Yeah. Well, it's a bit harsh. So, okay. Yeah. Hmm. Anybody got any ideas about the embedding model? Okay, okay, this is still getting to kind of technical a little bit, but then when you embed a piece of text, then typically large language models are based on doing whole pages or paragraphs. And most search queries are incredibly brief. So my favorite search query for this example is 1 TB space SSD, so a 1 TB solid state drive. And so humans can look at that and go and mostly understand what it means, but there's actually only 7 characters in there. And it's super hard to work out what that actually means. And most large language models, now they do okay, but for most embeddings do badly. So there are some embeddings that don't only that use smaller level tokenization. So not tokenization of like we think of like nearly a whole word, but a smaller chunk of it. And you can use substrings. And so they can then work out that lots of things are, I don't know, TB or GB with a number in it, but they're related to the size of the SSD, say, and that will be a space for them. Whilst a lot of these things otherwise we'll be looking at the whole word, and that might be harder for them. So looking at little chunks of the word is useful. And then, and mostly handle short form strings. So I did some testing actually earlier today. An OpenAI small, I can't remember what the proper name for the embedding model is. The only thing that is going to be money. FastText is a very multilingual kind of small language model, not large language model, but a small language model embedding model that was super popular 5 years ago, 10 years ago, something like that, that Facebook released. And it handles query embedding really well because I've used it a lot for query embedding. But I don't know, it's kind of, compared to language models nowadays, it's crap. but it's cheap and it's free, blindly fast. Works pretty well for lots of things, so it might be good enough.
I was gonna say that sounds like it fits our scope and our
Right.
goal.
Yeah,
Sounds like the diner. Pick two, fast, cheap, good.
yeah. That's a good idea. Uh, so it's super cool about chatting with large language models. If you know the kind of thing to ask, so it said, you're looking at the bipartite graph. So that basically means graph with two sides with queries and pages. And a graph just means, yeah, there are lines between the queries and the pages. And then the click patterns define page clusters rather than URL path. Um, yeah, so like, yes, but it's just super smart that it knows these kind of things. Oh, yeah, okay. Great. I have no idea. What do you guys think about the reporting? So, is this is it kind of an interactive thing where you go back and forth and it answers some questions and you say, "Great, make a PDF of that, please," um, or is it just predictable and just everything goes in and it does lots of nice graphs?
I think we
Uh,
said it depends on how often people think they would be sending this to a client. Because for me, if the report's just for me, I'd want it to focus more on the diagnosis and like what I can do with it next versus like the action steps that I need to take. Versus if I was giving it to a client, I'd want more context and be like, this is why it happened and da da da. For me, I'm like, I already know why. I just want to get the thing done. I mean, I don't already know why, but I just want to get it done. But they're going to be
yeah,
like, what is that? Is it required? Can we get around it? Can we put keywords in white text and then that will solve it? And
I hate it when they do that.
yeah. So like you need a little, I feel like if you're working with a client, you need a little more.
Well, and
Hmm.
since we kind of chose the direction of being reactive with this, I'm assuming either we're digging into a problem that we saw or the client asked us about it. If we're just getting the findings and we're sending them the raw findings, woof, I don't want to be on that call.
No, that's
Been
good call.
there, not going back.
So, all right. Please dictate how I should answer this question because I'm still so I don't spend a lot of time doing reporting at all. We just make changes to websites. But I'm like, what everything you said, Liz, sounded fantastic. But
That's
now
so
please
me.
Robin,
dictate it to your typist.
I'm like, just do it.
where do you work? I want to work there. I just want to make sure.
Right.
I'm so
No,
sick of trying to
who? You
explain
just
stuff to
do that?
people. I just want to do the
But
work.
it's not that, but so we try and work out what went wrong and then fix it so the revenue goes up. And then, but we don't really report anything apart from, revenue goes up and clicks go up. That's like we do other reporting as well, but the main job is not to make reports; it's just to update the website so it's easier to use and make
I
sense.
just talked my client out of doing
In
it.
what world do you live? I want to work
Oh,
there.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Oh, similar AI, the
Similar
best company in the
AI.
world. Yeah,
Huge. I had to convince a client not to do, it worked, but I convinced them not to do a technical audit because I said in that same amount of time, we could actually fix all the 404s. What if we just did that? What if we just
yeah.
started with that and then let's run a snapshot in 3 months? Because you
It's
have,
like
yeah.
we got on so many sales calls and we explain what we do and they kind of like, oh, so you work out what's wrong with our internal linking. I have to correct everybody. I said, no, we don't do that. You can't do that. There are loads of tools that do that, but we can't do that. But we work out how your internal linking should work, and then we make ready to publish changes, and then through a direct integration with your site, we publish them to your CMS, and then they stay up to date after that. And they're like, oh, but you can't tell me where the internal linking is going wrong. I said, no, but like we fix it all. Isn't that kind of a good thing, right?
We're not,
Or
we're,
same with content, or same with new pages. Oh,
it's, it,
I want to know which pages I miss. You don't want to create them and then look at the money rolling in. You just want to know which pages you miss. Yeah, maybe we're not a match, but yeah, so like that. Okay, but
doing the work. You're talking to the right crowd. The three of us are do the work people for sure.
these dictate the answer that I should type.
I'm almost thinking, I mean, we could rephrase it a bit, but that second bullet is more along the lines of what we're thinking.
Okay.
Maybe we say email delivery at the end, but like I think that's more like, okay, does it export to a Google Sheet? Does it give me a download there? Like, but it's all going
Mm,
to be internal. We
mm.
don't need anything fancy, branded, any of that from point one.
I feel like that's a V2. We said we would do it as part of this, but I think that was more when it was
Mm.
just like a regular reporting app. But this feels,
So we want the charts and the tables, um, and the diagnosis flags maybe, and maybe that can be put is that word to Google Sheet for us to kick the tires before we share that. Is that right?
yeah, I think it's a V2 because then we can be like, oh, the reporting's actually decent. If we simplify it and add color, it can
Mm.
be PDF, maybe.
Okay. Mm. So it's asking, do we actually need a like a web app? So we run it locally and then we open the browser and play around with it, or do we just have a conversation like this with Claude, and then Claude said, "Oh, well, here's a Google sheet. You can open it now. Here's the URL, and you just click on that." Or um, we do something locally, but it gives us a nice visualization dashboard. Um, yeah, I know what I would choose here, but I'm curious for you guys because this, I think, so. This tool is something I don't think that's a lie. I would like to use this tool too, but then I would just get it, give me some answers, and open it in a Google sheet. Um, and I love this second thing. That's what a lot of the way we've been building the last couple of years, because you basically have to build no UI whatsoever, but it does all the heavy lifting for you. So it's very intelligent, but then because UIs go wrong in my experience, and they're like it's very hard to get them exactly how you want them. So it's easier just not to have one. But something like Radio, I don't know if you guys know that, but that's kind of like a dashboard building tool. Um, and so that's something in that style means Claude could just do that very easily for us. There's lots of graphs and we could analyze those. Um, yeah,
No. Okay.
what are you
I mean,
feeling?
is it the same as Looker?
Similar, yeah,
Okay.
but simpler and easier to use would be the way to think about it.
One point about the app is that we could build on top of it in the future and keep going.
Yep,
Whereas sticking with something in
just command
between
line.
is very
Mm,
much like this one unit of
mm,
task or whatever.
that's fair.
Um, so I don't know. It'd be more complicated to do the app, but it would allow us to kind of build on top of it. But at the same time, if we can upgrade to that at some point, we could always start with a Google Sheet output. I was just said to Merch last night, Google Sheets are like the empirical base unit of the internet. So I'm always like, I guess I'll just use Sheets. So maybe that's, I don't know. Liz probably has an opinion.
Usually. So I mean, selfishly, I've never built a web app. All my stuff is command line. So I'd be interested to learn how to do it. So I kind of lean towards that one a little bit just because I want to learn.
Yeah. Maybe you have a view from you.
I would go with web app just because I'm such
Okay.
a vibe coder that it would be cool to be able to build something like that for other people like me who aren't in this, right? Of course, so they can
Yeah.
use it afterwards. Yeah.
Okay. Mm, ooh. So I'm guessing you guys, do any of you have any experience with building with any of these technologies?
No, I've only used chart.io, which I think doesn't exist anymore.
Yeah. I also use lots of Next.js.
I like that once it feels like it covers something, it goes to the next thing.
So I reckon Search Console, everything, like query style data, but query level data is great, but your inspection will be useful too. Like if something goes wrong, the URL inspection, I guess, is can be useful. But I don't know. Maybe we just start with. Wait, did we lose Liz? The numbers are just dropping off.
Yeah,
Oh,
Liz
but maybe
had to
maybe it's
go.
time.
I think it's a good wrapping point if this is a good point to say we can continue.
Yeah, we can stop here. I'll give it some answers and then tell it to stop asking questions. I'll give it a bit of research, and then I'll add that to the Google Doc
Great.
and probably create a repo and then
Amazing.
share it, hopefully, so that people can start contributing.
Robin, you are the best.
Second best, I say
The best in our own category, right? It's SEO listicle style.
exactly. Yeah.